Welcome, everybody, to another episode of The Ball is Round. I'm your host, Elias Grigoriadis, and today on the show, CF Montreal kicks off their season with a loss in Atlanta. Laurent Courtois tries something new tactically, and it does not work. And what this could mean for the rest of the road trip. That and a lot more on episode 215 of The Ball is Round. So, welcome everyone once again to The Ball is Round. I'm Elias Grigoriadis. I'm here with my wonderful co-host. We're switching up the roles this time. I'm the one talking. Andy is here with us once again. Andy, how are you doing, sir?
Terrible. I am doing terrible. I'll be very honest with you guys. I am not doing well. I am.
Damn, did Bayern lose too, or what's going on?
Just a loss in life. Nah, just kidding. It's just not feeling well. As you guys maybe might hear from my voice, I'm a little bit congested. But I'm here. We are here to give you guys your weekly podcast because we love doing this and
Absolutely.
We do it whether alive or whether we're dead. We're here.
Absolutely.
So if you guys see me staring off into imaginary horses, don't worry about it.
It's cold medicine's working.
I'm still here. If I start speaking Spanish randomly, it's okay. Just use Google Translate.
We are a multicultural podcast, and we will. If I start speaking in Greek, then everyone's learning a new language today. Anyway, we are here for one reason and one reason only. CF Montreal kicked off their season with a 3-2 loss. Andy, your immediate impressions after the game. How you feel?
I mean, obviously sad that it was a loss, but Elias, we're back. We're back, man.
Montreal is back.
We're back. We're back, and we're losing. I mean, it feels normal again. So, so no. I mean, look, it was a great game. I think it was. We learned a lot. And just felt like I might have said this before, but it just seemed like two different teams in each half.
Absolutely, and we are definitely going to get into that. But first things first, let's get into it with the starting lineup. In goal, Jonathan Sirois. I don't think there was any surprise there. The first of many big surprises in the starting lineup, Luca Petrasso starting alongside Joe Waterman and George Campbell at the back, with Samuel Piette and Nathan Saliba in the midfield. Jaquil Marsh-Rudy, and it turns out was not a back four. Caden Clark played left wing back. And then up top, you had Mahalo Poku, Fabian Herbers, and Prince Owusu. When this first came out, what was your immediate reaction?
Dude, I was so confused. I was like, what is happening right now? Like, I was just trying to just seeing the list like that. I was like, was it a back four? Is Caden Clark up top? Like, I'm just trying to like draw a million different, formations and figures where everybody fit there, and it just didn't make any sense to me. And then when I saw it on the field, I was like, okay, this is different.
It still doesn't make sense to me.
It still doesn't make any sense to me. So yeah.
I was actually coaching soccer for the first 20 minutes of the game, and mid-practice, I get the notification that the lineup is out, and I completely neglected my coaching duty. So sorry to my team, but I was just trying to figure out how does this look? Because I'm like, did they four back? Is it like a 4-2-3-1? Anyway, so I was like, there's no way they're putting Caden Clark on the wing back. There's no way after he talked about how miserable he was playing wing back for that exact reason. Turns out we were wrong. Anyway, MJR saying, I said, what the fuck? Why mess with success? Well, we're going to get all into that. Let's first things first. You know how we do it. We go layer by layer. First things first, Jonathan Sirois. In this game, we saw a lot of different versions of Jonathan Sirois. We saw every different version of Jonathan Sirois. What was your takeaway from his game in general?
You know what, man? Since last season, I've been very critical of Jonathan Sirois, saying that in order for him to take that next leap in his career, he needs to stop being a one-trick pony where he does, fantastic saves, which we saw last night. He did some great saves. But his distribution was so off. again, he might have one or two passes similar that we saw last year, but in general, I didn't like his distribution. A lot of people are talking about the goal that could have been, his fault, but also, you have Petrasso right in front of him going the different direction. It's debatable. I mean, in slow motion, it's easy for 1,000 eyes to just say, that was so easy. You could have just caught that. But I mean, how many times have you playing a sport, having something heading right at you, you just completely lose focus? And I'm not justifying Sirois' mistakes, but at the end of the day, what else do you give me to make up for those kind of mistakes? And that's where I think, I don't know if it's that competition is any better. If our backup CF Montreal's backup and Sébastien Breza will perform better than that. I don't know, and I don't think so. But it's starting to become a thing of like, who is Jonathan Sirois and what can we expect of him every game?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, at the beginning of the season, I talked about the two things I want out of Jonathan Sirois this year to show that he's ready to get to the next level and compete with the people, the national team, and Europe may be a couple ways away, but national team is definitely there. He is third, maybe fourth in that depth chart, actively fighting for a spot on that roster. You got to get better in distribution, and you have to become more authoritative in your penalty area. Right, the shot stopping capacity is not something that we have to worry about because we've seen it. Everybody has seen that he's capable of minding the net, but that's not all you need for a goalie. This is that is a 30-year-old way of looking at goalkeeping. That is no longer the case now. And that goal, and Patrick White says he lost us a point. I don't agree with that because he did make some truly outrageous saves, including that one in the first half that was just, what was the second? That diving save that really was like 2023 Jonathan Sirois, where he would just kind of pull this stuff on a weekly basis out of nowhere. Yeah. But I kind of disagree with you. I do think that goal is on him. Because Luca Petrasso's positioning was not good. I don't know why you're there. I don't know why you're crowding your keeper like that. It's super unnecessary, but at the same time, you're a goalkeeper. You should be able to trap a cross, a relatively easy cross, with far more nonsense going on in your penalty area than that, right? You saw him catch corners, which is objectively harder than the one he missed. Yeah. So I think that in situations like that, that's what I'm talking about when you have to be authoritative in your penalty area. It means that there's no nonsense. And nonsense like that is what costs you a point. So I don't think he lost them a point. I think that act didn't help, obviously, especially how much against the run of play it was. But ultimately, I don't think he cost him the point, but I do think this is the kind of things that he needs to stamp out if he wants to get to that next level. He's very clearly an ambitious goalkeeper, right? He said it from the second he got here. After when he came back from Lille, he's like, I'm here to get the starting position, and I'm here to become the best goalie I could be. I'm here to get the national team, right? So you're very clearly ambitious. These are things you have to work at, and you've had to have worked on them for years now. So it's time to put up or shut up,
Look, last year, I remember last year or 2023, there was a particular game when that he made a big mistake coming out in one of those high balls that led to a Cincinnati. I think it was FC Cincinnati.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. And it lost the game, or it cost us the point, or something.
No, they were winning 1-0, and it ended up finishing 1-1 like the 90th minute.
Yeah, so I actually saw a much better phase in his game in that yesterday, where he actually came out and set pieces, and because we've spoken so much about the one of the biggest weaknesses is being set pieces. So obviously, all eyes of those of us that have been following CF Montreal since last year have been like, what is the improvement? And the big improvement I saw was Jonathan Sirois being involved in those set pieces. But again, what stands out is not that, Elias, today. If we win 4-2, if we win 5-0, then we don't say anything about that little, or 5-1, then we don't say anything about that little mistake. But
it's definitely less of a red flag if you end up taking 3 points or even 1 point. But, this is still a club where you focus on improvement and development and progression as a player. And if Jonathan Sirois doesn't look like he's made any progression, then like you said, right, his spot is at risk, whether it's from the CPL, which again, we're not going to get into that because that's all speculation. But your job is at risk,
They're gonna
essentially.
announce it
And
tomorrow. Like it's okay. They
they're
always
probably gonna
release
announce it
that
the
after.
second we go off the air. Let's be real here. TB our curse. We know this. Anyway, let's move on to the center back, to the back line.
Yes.
Again, it was very hot and cold, and I think that's kind of the tagline of this game, is that just everyone was great until they weren't. And that's very similar to the back line, where you have some incredible performances and then performances that leave you scratching your head. You know, I want your thoughts on, you know, George Campbell, and Luca Petrasso, which seems like two opposite ends of the spectrum in that case. What did you think about their game?
I mean, look, it's first of all, again, going back to them selecting the lineup. I'm looking at that. I'm looking Petrasso. Like at the little reporting and when we went to Marie Victorin, what did Petrasso do to impress us? I mean, man, we don't see what happened. We haven't seen everything that happens in every practice. Maybe he has been playing lights out. I will say that I believe it was the first goal or the second where he actually contributed to the long pass that led to building up of the play. But
the first goal, the first goal.
So it's one of those things that there are moments where you can see why he can be productive in the offense, but defensively, you can tell there's chemistry missing between Joel Waterman and him. I don't know, man. I don't know. Fernando Alvarez came in. We'll talk about that after, but it was questionable. I can't say that I'm like I want him to start more games. I obviously do want to see him start more games to be able to get a full assessment of what he's capable of, because we haven't seen him play here in CF Montreal. But yeah, I mean it wasn't per se his best game.
Yeah. I mean, I think that
I like George Campbell though. George Campbell's game was I like George Campbell's game.
What I was going to say, what I love about George Campbell, especially from when you look at when he got here under Hernan Losada, and the way he was playing really was just erratic and seemed to have a general lack of composure, especially on the ball. And it looks like he's consistently refining that. And we talked about how we're not seeing the kind of growth we'd like to see from Jonathan Silva yet. George Campbell is a perfect example of every single thing that's being asked of him. If you want to get to that next level, you have to fix this. You have to fix this. He's doing it. Right? His team defense has gotten better. His on-ball defending has always been very strong, but his team defense has gotten better. His composure on the ball and his decision-making has gone so much better. And he had a good relationship with Juan, and he's had a good relationship with Jaquil Marshruti, so I'm not concerned about his relationship with his wingback. But just in terms of the way they play off each other, you can tell that this is now the second year they've been together. And, you know, Mauro said it, right? He's so underrated, and he's going to continue to be underrated. And I think he's going to earn this national team call. And that's also why he said George Campbell is not the one that has to be worried about Jalen Neal.
No.
He's not the one that has to be worried about Jalen Neal. It's the other side.
Yeah.
And Jalen Neal is good enough to make Laurent Courtois forget about the fact that he's not left-footed. He's that good.
Yeah.
So I think George Campbell was arguably my man of the match, my CF Montreal man of the match. Yeah. I know it's saying a lot because we'll get to Prince, but I think he was excellent. Prince he had a very good game, and we're going to get into Prince because we have a lot to say and we have a lot of crow to eat about Prince.
We'll get to Alvarez because I know Alvarez has to.
Alvarez, but yeah, I think that of all the people that I wasn't disappointed in Joel Waterman's game, but he just had a Joel Waterman game.
Yeah.
And in the second half, I loved his second half, but the first half, a half that's so chaotic, that's one of those games where you need your veteran center back, your general, to step up and just calm everything down. And he did that for about 15 minutes in the middle there, but the last 20 minutes, which were really hectic, where Montreal suffered the most in the first half, he did his job. Right, as the middle defender. But when you're a leader and you're the veteran in that group, you also have to kind of have this contagious composure where everyone else can feel more comfortable. And I didn't feel that from him. Yeah, so, that will come with chemistry, like you said, with Luca Petrasso. But I think the three of them, you could tell something was off. I think Fernando Alvarez will help that. But the vibes are weird.
I don't know, man. Like I don't like seeing him see that left side. It was, and I felt like Alana just attacked it even after the change was made at halftime. They attacked it over and over again. I think they had a Almiron there, right? So
yeah.
So maybe that's why they took Alvarez out, because Petrasso might be a little bit quicker. And maybe that's why also they had Caden Clark, because they knew they would have a matchup against Almiron. But yeah, it was weird.
Well, we're going to get into left back. I mean, I do agree with you with the Petrasso argument that he is more of a left back, kind of similar to David Bugai. So I could see why, because he may want that athleticism that Fernando Alvarez doesn't bring. But you need your best defenders on, right? When you're playing on the road, you need your best defenders on. Robbie's saying a lot of negativity, guys. This is the
because we're talking about the defensive line.
Don't worry, it's about to get so much better. Don't worry about it, Robbie. Well, I mean, we'll talk about the wing backs next. We'll talk about all three that played significant minutes here. We're going to talk about Jaquil Marshall-Rudy. We're going to talk about Tom Pierce, and of course, the big question, which was Caden Clark. And we actually have a question here from Marc Rondon. Why that starting 11? Why no Pierce Sealy at left back? Clark played out of position. We'll talk about Prince later. Don't worry, Marc. But Caden Clark, right now, Laurent Courtois explained why Caden Clark was given that left wing back role. It was because he wanted to exploit the space in behind the fullbacks, because Atlanta did have significant losses in the fullback department, right, to start the season. So I understand this inclination to kind of get in behind there. But you hear all these times he talked about how much he hated being played out of position, how much he enjoyed being played in the attacking midfield role. And you follow up arguably his best run of football of his career with shoving him back into that position. ¿Por qué?
Wait, is it the drums or you spoke Spanish? So, anyways, but yeah, no, exactly. It was really strange. I mean, look, at the end of, like you said, at the press conference, he explained that he was that he was kind of experimenting and kind of trying to see what would work best. Would work best for against Atlanta. I think he was looking to see what kind of advantage, because Atlanta was lacking a lot of their wingbacks, with Brooks Lennon, I believe, out of it, and I forgot
Lennon and Edwards were both absent, so I get
exactly. That. So he was trying to exploit that, but the first game of the season, I mean, are we there to do that yet, or should we try to maybe figure ourselves out first? Like play what we've been playing, what's worked. Right, Elias? It's worked in the past, so why are we trying to try something? Anyways, I think it was maybe a little bit of overconfidence from the staff, and they were willing to experiment a little bit, but yeah, then once we made that switch, that's a whole different story. But yeah, I do agree that it was just weird, and you could tell that he kind of did the bare minimum to play that position. I think he even had one shot on goal as a wing back, but then that's it. Like, he really disappeared out of the game.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Lassi Lappalainen under Wilfried Nelson. It really did, where he had virtually no defensive responsibilities. There was a lot of running, but his job was to be a wide attacking player. And with all due respect to Luca Petrasso, he's not Kamal Miller. Right, you had Kamal Miller on that side, which was as good as it gets for you. Here, it was very clear that they were attacking their left side, that Montreal's left side on their right side, because of all the danger. Yeah. And look, I'm sorry, but Caden Clark at left wing back, and there was a lot of different changes. So again, it's not just Clark that looked out of sorts, but Caden Clark did not look anywhere near as good as the guy that's quote unquote going to be the best player on the team this season. So, you know who did look amazing? Tom Pierce. Tom Pierce is going to be so much fun to watch this year. I can't wait to see him start regularly now that the Caden Clark experiment crashed and burned. Tom Pierce, just in those 45 minutes, did so much for his stock. Because the biggest concern for Tom Pierce, especially on the road, was can he defend? Can he shore up that side? Can he make things work? Can he combine with the center back? And yeah, he's good for the crosses, but can he also short defend his flank? And he did such a good job defensively. I think that gets overlooked by the fact that he really was putting in some he was asking the right questions when he was crossing the ball in. But defensively, there was nothing going on that right side. Again, Almiron was probably not in the best form right now. Doesn't have his fitness all the way up. Definitely looked like he was sucking wind by the hour mark. So I get that that may also be a reason, but you still have a player who started for a Champions League team a year ago, right? There's still a quality there that Tom Pierce had to worry about, and he made Luca Petrasso look a lot better. So much better that when Alvarez came on, that left side ended up going from okay to excellent.
Yeah.
And was where most of the attack was coming from. So this game, and you rather Dante Sealy in this situation, and I completely understand why, because it's a huge field. Atlanta is very dynamic, and having his athleticism is important. But Tom Pierce just vaulted. He just vaulted himself to the front of the line at left back for me. I think it's beyond debate right now.
I'm excited to see a fit form and somebody that. A Tom Pierce that is fit and knows the league well. See him at his best, because that could be a very, very interesting profile. He's got a lethal cross, man. The corner kicks as well. His corner kicks are fantastic, and just he's definitely the wild card, I guess. The one that could definitely impact the game in very many different ways.
Yeah.
But it's also his defense, Elias, is very bad.
But last night he was excellent. Last night defensively, Atlanta had nothing on the right side.
I don't know. I saw him kind of lost at times. I'd usually agree, but anyways, at least the way I saw it, at times he looked a little bit lost on defense. But 100% agree with you that he completely changed the game just being on that left side.
And Mara with a good question, right? Can he do it for 90 minutes? I mean, we'll have to see what his fitness at. It's very clear that physically he's already in a better place than he was last year, just in those 45 minutes. But remember, right, Raheem Edwards didn't really play 90 minutes all that often, right? And you have someone like Dante Sealy who is dynamic, who can act as a very potent substitute. I don't hate that combo. I really don't hate that combo.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to put players out of position because you have this combo here that very clearly, on paper at least, works. But on the other side, right, there's no debate. This is Jaquil Marcelrudi's spot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think of his game?
Of Jaquil, sorry, JMR? Yes, man, absolutely. Yeah. I did like his game a lot. I think he kind of picked up where he left off last season. I think he had a great performance in the sense that he didn't do anything per se amazing, but I did like that he was solid. Again, that relationship between George Campbell and JMR is different, man. I mean, they seem to complement each other really, really well.
I think they complement each other better than Campbell and Juan do, actually.
And if Laurent Courtois would have tried to mess that one up, that could have really messed up the game. But they already we saw. Again, it worked so well last year, Elias. It worked so well last year, and why do you try, that kind of experiment, Elias, that of putting Clark as a wing back? I'm gonna go back to that, man. You do that in a Tuesday night playing against Forge, right? Like or a Wednesday game when you have a tired Tom Pierce, maybe a tired Dante Sealy, then you start maybe trying out different things like that. But
nowhere near desperate enough to put Caden Clark.
The CF Montreal fans have been waiting forever. You're playing away from home. Why do you do something like that? So, anyways, not going to beat a dead horse here, but it was definitely But JMR's game, I absolutely loved it. I thought it complimented Campbell, like we said earlier. Campbell,
especially defensively.
Yeah. Campbell did have a great game. I just wish he would try be more involved offensively.
I mean, CF Montreal, great name, by the way. With the right, he can't cross to save his life. He definitely needs work in his delivery. And you saw, I don't know if you remember that one sequence around the 70th minute where him and Tom Pierce were just playing long balls to each other for like 3 crosses in a row.
I didn't. I don't remember that.
That was too long. Marshall already picked up the ball. Sent across was too long. Went to Pierce. Pierce sent the ball back to him.
No, you, bro. No, you, bro. No, you.
It's like, guys, just recycle the ball at this point. But yes, no. Jaquil Marshrudi's defensive work is very strong and his combination is good, but offensively, he needs to get more assertive. And I think
Absolutely.
that, people are talking about playing him in the midfield. I'm cool with him staying on the wing. He's got the pace, he has the profile, he has the awareness and the positioning for it. He just needs to work on his delivery so much because that's the final part of his game. And, if you do want to go to Europe, you can't whip the ball in from the wing, then doesn't matter what team you're on, they're not going to take you.
Yeah, I just think he needs more. We spoke a lot about Jonathan Sirois being a one trick pony. We need JMR to also have more phases of the game so that he can be more impactful. Absolutely.
Moving on to the midfield. Again, no debate here, right? Samuel Piette, Nathan Saliba. I don't think anyone was surprised by this tandem. I was a little surprised about how they played, though.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I was like, I think I don't know if people are gonna like that I say this, but I didn't like Nathan Saliba's game.
Interesting.
He scored a goal, was very well positioned. I do agree with that. That was a fantastic goal. But what did he do the rest of the game to impress you? I felt like the ball was going around him more than to him. It just felt like he wasn't very involved. Samuel Piette also didn't see much from his game. I'm used to him.
We actually got a question from Robbie about that. What do you think of Piette's match? Grant Needham was not impressed. Were you impressed?
Not really, but I wasn't disappointed per se either because it wasn't like he did anything to. Well, actually, there was that foul on at the beginning of the game that was senseless against. I think
that was a dumb foul. That was even he knew it was a dumb foul.
Yeah, coming from the captain at that time of the game, it's what are we doing right now, Sam? Like that's not good. Like that's very risky, and you're putting your team in danger, and you're putting the, yourself in it. Like in any case. I expected a lot more from the midfield. I expect them to kind of orchestrate the play and allow the wingbacks to. But I don't know, Elias. What would you feel? Because I honestly think that it wasn't their best game. I still like them as a duo. I think they complement each other really well when it works, which we saw towards the last minutes that it can work really well. Actually, no, he got subbed off. Piet got subbed off. So that's when I saw a better version of Saliba. But before that, I don't know, man. I don't know if I like their game.
The thing that bothered me the most about Piette is it looked like he was always a step behind. It looked like everything he did was just a step late, was just a second late. Everything, right? Whether it was a challenge, whether it was a recovery run, whether it was a decision to switch to play, everything just looked slower. And I was really disappointed in that because if there's one thing you're going to get out of Samuel Piette, it's work ethic and consistency, right? Yep. He's not gonna put in man of the match performances, but he's damn well gonna do his job better than most people in this league.
The next guy, yeah,
right. But last night he just seemed really taken off, like caught off guard, and that's something that you don't really see Samuel Piette getting caught off guard all that often because he never really overextends himself. And he didn't overextend himself last night, and he was still caught off guard. So that's the concerning thing. And now, again, judging fitness on game one is not the most fair thing in the world. So, and remember, Samuel Piette, the last 2-3 years, has struggled with his fitness at the beginning of the season. So, and as the season continues, then it's the Samuel Piette we know and love. Yeah. But there was a different kind of energy where he wasn't as quick. And so that's my bigger concern. Nathan Saliba, I do agree with you in a way. I still think he had a very good game. I don't think that he was outstanding. I do think that he did a lot of running for no reason, right? And like you said, right, he just kind of let the game pass him by. And we're talking about this. Nathan Saliba needs to learn how to take over games, or at least take over the midfield, because he is good enough to do that. And he just kind of didn't. He was way too passive last night. That's also because Atlanta wasn't really doing all that much down the middle.
Yeah.
A lot of the development was on the flanks. So he was kind of like, I'm doing my job. I'm okay. No, you still have to affect the game, right? And yeah, great read on the run and, great way to make yourself open on the goal. That's very good.
100%.
but that doesn't mean taking over the game, right? There were only very few times where I saw like, okay, he's now moving like he did last year. So again, the midfield, which was, arguably the least problematic thing last year, for me, seemed to be the most problematic thing last night.
Yeah, absolutely. It seemed like they were out of. Again, I do like that combination. I think they complement each other well, but they were not in sync. And it will happen. I think it's gonna happen that there'll be 1 or 2 nights off of the midfielders. But we said it in this pod, Elias, and this is the year that Nathan needs to take that next step.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are saying that he might be sold this summer. Well, if he wants to get sold this summer, you got to give him a really good take for this summer. Let him know that you're above the level of MLS. You're not in MLS level. You're above MLS level. So, I mean, that's just it. Just I had higher expectations for a first game for him, but I mean, we'll see how that develops over the season. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the attacking midfielders. Let's move on to Caden Clark, Bryce Duke, Mahala Poku, Fabian Herbers. Everyone played 45 minutes in that position. Am I wrong in saying that Bryce Duke was the best player out of all of them?
Oh yeah.
Am I crazy?
Oh, he was good as hell.
Someone get Wellington in here.
He was good as hell. He was fantastic.
Is this the best Bryce Duke?
Compared to Opoku?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Opoku was bad. He was not just he had a bad game. No, he was bad. And for everything we've seen him at Marie-Victorin, or the reports we got out of him at camp, the highlights we saw, he seemed to be doing very well and ready to take that next step. He was.
I mean, it's clear, right? He got a starting spot. So clearly he had a good offseason or a good preseason.
I don't know what happened. I don't know what he was bad, Elias.
Yeah. But, no, I mean he was completely ineffective. Anytime he was on the ball, it was a giveaway or backwards. And yeah, no, he, someone who you're expecting to make something happen, especially when he gets the ball at his feet, was completely ineffective. So again, I was completely taken aback because I'm watching this. I'm like, something is not right. There's no way that this is the same player, because it was not the same Mahala Poku at all. He looked completely intimidated and completely just apathetic almost.
And there were a lot of plays that went through him. He could have built up plays, and he just, I don't know, man.
It's the execution. It was not there at all. Let's talk about Bryce Duke.
He had a hell of a game, man. He was interesting, and I think MJR mentioned it best. Duke plays best when his spot is up for grab. 100%, man. He just seems to love, grabbing the moment, cherishing the moment where he has to prove himself, right? Mm-hmm. And he definitely was all over the field. He was going left and right, trying to, make it a, make it a, like asking for the ball and just trying to create something out of nothing, because there was literally nothing before he got there. So Fabian Herbert is also a lot of good things that were heard from him. A lot of things that we saw in Marie-Victorin. I was impressed with him. I was excited to see him. I don't know, man. He did little to impress me yesterday. It just doesn't work. Opoku and Herbert, it did not work.
Swing and a miss.
It did not work. And it's not Owusu's fault either. We'll get to that. But it just didn't work. It was just two different playing styles and two different mentalities that just didn't seem to go together. And you wanted, again, we've seen Courtois experiment a lot, and this experiment just didn't work, in my opinion.
No, it did not. It did not. What do you think of Caden Clark? Second half, because we saw a lot more of, that's Caden Clark. Okay, yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, 2024, Caden Clark, much better. He was loose. He was daring. He was, let's go. Let's get this thing done that we planned for, because I'm tired of what I just did in the first half. So he just came out swinging. I liked it a lot more. Let's just scrap whatever it is that they were trying to do. Maybe bring it back another day when everybody's happy and jolly, and
or just never bring it back.
Yeah.
Or just don't, you know.
He was
We're
asked in
good.
the
We're
press
good.
conference yesterday, Elias. He was like, "Are we ever going to see this again?" He was like, "Maybe." I was like, "No, just
Not,
say
I don't,
no,
I don't even
please."
think he was convinced.
I
But
was like, "Maybe," and he gave a smile, like,
time to move on to the main event, if you will.
"Yes,
Prince Owusu on his debut for CF Montreal, a goal and assist. Uh, Overall, very, very impressive performance. I think he shut a lot of people up, including myself, who said that maybe that final execution wasn't there. You're wrong. I was wrong. Apparently, yeah. Very good game for Prince Owusu. I loved what he was doing. Um, I am concerned about the fitness side of it. He did join training camp a little bit after, but by the 70th minute mark, he was exhausted. And yes, there is a lot of running, especially when you're playing against a team like Atlanta, especially when you're playing on the counter, but he looked gassed. That being said, what you got for 70 minutes is well worth what, 800,000 or whatever it is they're paying him.
yeah,
That's a bargain, right?
yeah,
And if this can be replicated even somewhat consistently, if you can get this kind of Prince Owusu game every 2 games, then you're laughing. You're laughing. He was excellent and he was everywhere.
yeah." He definitely. I was impressed by what he did with the ball at his feet. How he liked to move defenders around. His crossing ability. What are you even talking about right now? Like he had a very perfect cross to Nathan Saliba. He seems like a very very unselfish player that likes to set up other attackers. Doesn't mind. We've seen in the past, Elias, a bunch of times. Strikers here in Montreal. We're going back to Romel Kyoto days. That
Oh,
will try to score at any cost. It doesn't matter how bad they look at it. You love that about strikers, but it's the first time I see really a striker like Owusu that's really like, you know what? Let's give it to the next guy. Let's pass it to the next guy. Let's make that effort. And I
mhm.
really like what I saw that. Definitely, I think there was fitness issues towards the end in general for the team because they just seemed
Yeah.
gassed.
I think for both teams,
For,
honestly, let's be real here. It was not a. This was definitely a preseason game that just happened to take place during the regular season. That's what it felt
yeah.
like at least.
Yeah, exactly. So it was just a fantastic game. I think for Prince Owosu, and we
Mhm.
still don't have our the DP playing.
No, the DP is still absent.
The
And
DP
look,
is
I mean, we're going to talk about Sanusi as well when we talk about the substitutes in a second. But if I'm Giacomo Vrioni and I'm watching this game, am I sweating a little bit? Am I nervous? Am I playing with my hands and going, oh, wait, I have to do that? I have to do all that?
Do they really need me?
I mean, they probably would when we talk about the end of the game there, and maybe a bit of lucidité. But let's do it now. Let's talk about the subs. We talked about two of the
Yeah,
subs already: Bryce Duke
yeah, yeah.
and Tom Pierce, who played 45 minutes, but three more subs did not: Victor Laturi, Fernando Alvarez, and Sunusi Ibrahim.
Yeah.
Let's start with Sunusi because he probably had the biggest impact on the game.
Very
What
impressive
did
as
you think?
always. Very impressive as always. You guys know in this pod that I'm a big fan of Sanusi, and I think that he deserves better chances. He hit one off the crossbar,
Off the crossbar at the
which
end there.
yeah, which again he just seems to always know how to position himself, use his body right to kind of twist around defenders and set up games, and it's a very impressive thing to see such a small player figure it out how to get the ball and set up the play. You would love to see him get more on the scoreboard and
Yeah.
actually like make have his name pop out more. But this kid deserves an opportunity. I don't know if it's here or anywhere else, but yeah, loved his game yesterday. Should he be starting? I mean, Prince will also put in some minutes, so I don't know if I'm okay with Sunusi starting yet if Prince also hasn't failed.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I think honestly, he was, even if he did go a long stretch without getting minutes last year, he was still Laurent Courtois' most used substitute last season
Yeah.
for good reason. And it's for this exact reason, right? The header that just went over the bar, the cross was a little bit high. I don't think he expected to bait Guzan to the ball either. I think he was surprised. I was definitely surprised by that. And I think it looked like, by the way he approached the header, he was also like, oh my God, I actually got this. Shit. And then he couldn't adjust the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And, the shot that went off the crossbar got deflected too. That's just, it's a game of inches, right?
Yeah.
And so I love what he did. Another player that I really loved to come in their cameo was Fernando Alvarez. The second he came on, everything opened up.
Yeah.
Everything became more composed in possession now, because that was when it was mostly one-way traffic for Montreal. Then when he came on, everything looked more composed. Everything looked more succinct, and the entire back three were moving as a unit again. And not just that, the way he breaks lines. There's a reason he fit in so well in the midfield, in the middle of the center back three when Joel Waterman was injured.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason. It's because his distribution is so effective. And I think this also permanently closes the Luca Petrasso, Fernando Alvarez debate, at least for now.
I agree. I mean, what are we doing? It did it. It worked. Why fix something that is not broken? It worked fine. Is Fernando Alvarez perfect? No, he's not. He's made plenty of gaffes in the past, and he we criticized him in this pod as well. But I mean, did Petrasso do anything to deserve? Where I'm going too far, but yes, absolutely. Fernando Alvarez, just when he came back, similar to having Clark up top, it just felt like we were back in 2024 and what worked, right? But let's hope it's not a theme this season, that it's going to be too little too late. Let's just not make it a theme. Let's make it a one-game thing. And yeah, let's hope for the best.
Last but definitely not least, Victor Latourie, first time I see CF Montreal jersey. Were you impressed? What do you think? Again, it was only like, what, it was about 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah. I don't know if I can give much of anything with that amount of time, but I mean, he did his job, right? Like, it was interesting to see a different pace, a different kind of style of game. But yeah, he didn't stand out, at least to me, Elias. I don't know to you, but
I think it's very clear that this is a player that hasn't played in a while. Right? If you take into account his time in Scotland, he last year he got a lot of regular play time. This year with not so much. He did look a little bit rusty, especially with the ball at his feet. If this is going to be the like-for-like replacement for Samuel Piet, which we thought it was, which was the case last night as well, I think it's a very good profile. And I think that our optimism about that kind of profile, that kind of substitution being for the rest of the season is still a good look. But yeah, I mean, he did look a little bit rusty, right? And again, when you have 10, 15 minutes in a game on the road, it's not easy to kind of put your stamp on the game. But I would have liked to see maybe a little bit more, Oh, let's see just a little bit
something. Yeah, exactly. But that was a hell of a game. It was a hell of a game. I think we've all been very hungry. Atlanta also played really well. Got to give it to them. They played
yeah, no, I mean, look, that goal from Mascara was phenomenal. And
yeah,
sometimes you tip your cap.
Hey man, that third goal, I have a question for you. That third goal where it's a curve and you see Jonathan Sirois, again, we already spoke about him. Jonathan Sirois stretched out to stop it. Do you think that goal, Elias, if it's a taller goalie like Breza or any, do you think this is in that goal, this is where we see the limitations of Jonathan Sirois? Or is that just a very good kick?
But that's the thing, right? Jonathan Sirois has never had a problem with dealing with long shots from distance and shots aimed to side netting or top corners. Sometimes you just have to tip your cap and say you were the better player. Right, and that shot was excellent.
It was such a good shot, Jesus.
It's kind of unfortunate that was the winning goal when the first goal Atlanta scored was off a corner that wasn't a corner, and the second goal that was scored happened the way it happened. But you look at Montreal in road games and shit going sideways is death taxes and that, right? You look at the Chicago game from last year. Yeah, you were going to win that game too if 45 different things didn't happen, but they did happen. This is MLS. Get used to it, So ultimately, you can't plan for a corner to be given when it's not a corner. What you can do
for corners, man.
You want 20 minutes of added time?
It will take forever.
That being said, just because it was a wrongly given corner does not give you an excuse to concede a goal on this corner.
Yes, you're right.
Once again, set pieces. And look, to be fair, they defended the other set pieces well.
They did.
But that's not how that works.
That's
because
not
you
what we
concede
remember.
one out of you could probably defend 20 set pieces. If you concede the one, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Because that was poor. But you could tell that was Atlanta's plan. Every single time they sent a corner in, they weren't aiming for like the penalty spot or up there. They were throwing it right into the middle. They're trying to cause as much chaos as possible. They're trying to rely on the fact that Montreal's set piece defense is not their best asset. And it worked. You can't argue that.
That's going to be every team's strategy from now to the end of the season.
They should be aware of that.
Until Montreal gets their shit together, we are going to continue doing that.
Which is why you plant George Campbell or Prince Owusu on the first post, and you just have them send everything away. I don't care. That's got to be the first thing you do. Is you have to make sure that this low cross where they have a player cut to the front post to just try to flick it behind you that Atlanta did like 2 or 3 times. One of them almost went in if George Campbell hadn't cleared it off the goal line.
Yeah.
You have to negate that, and you get your most. Maybe your best at, I don't know who you have to put. Maybe you study profiles, but you have to get a player in there so that doesn't happen, because it happened like 3 or 4 times last night.
It's positioning, it's momentum. I don't know what's going on, but it can't continuously happen, and it's going to continuously happen unless something is fixed, and it needs to be fixed like yesterday. If not, we're just going to Elias, we're going to go into the 2025 offseason and Gabriel Gervais is going to take that microphone again. I'm going to say last year our biggest problem was set pieces, and we're going to look to fix set pieces. And you can't have the same speech every year. So
no, you can't.
It's a 1 game, 5 games in. If we're still having we're not getting them up goals at set pieces, and there's improvement there, then we're just talking shit right now. It's like we're just we know nothing, right?
Speaking of the same thing as last year, one of the things that we both agreed on about Laurent Courtois specifically is he has to stop putting himself in positions that he needs to make game-changing adjustments, right? The fact that you can recognize his adjustments is good, but the fact that you're not preparing for them before the game is the problem. Yeah. And he essentially admitted it, where, I tried something, it did not work. But it felt, again, like a rookie mistake. Because there's getting something wrong and I make a slight little tweak, okay, and we're good. And there's completely scrapping everything.
Yeah. And
basically going back to the default. And then having the disparity in stats. If you look at the first half stats, right? 0.8 XG for Atlanta, 0.2 for Montreal, but look at the shot difference, right? 9-2 total shots, 2-1 on target, 5-1 on target, 2-0 in big chances. The second, literally the minute, right? Montreal's first goal was in the 46th minute. Literally the minute you change back to the normal thing, look at the second half, 2.5 XG to 0.6. Also, 2 goals on 0.6 is not great, but look at the goals that went in, right?
Yeah.
11-5 the shots, 5-3 the shots on target, and 5 big chances to Atlanta's 2. Vincent Détouche on the Apple broadcast said it best. It's opportunism. Atlanta found their moments and they made them count. Montreal had not. And therein lies maybe the biggest difference on the field. But tactically, if you have 2 full halves of these stats, which again, for all intents and purposes, there's no reason that they could, if they had lined up like this, which is what we all expect them to line up as.
Yeah.
With Waterman, with the Petrasso left back here at left center back, but it was the formation and the system that they used last year. There's no reason why that wouldn't have had the same kind of way the game went as the second half. Sorry, because the first half Montreal did have a lot of joy. They did have a lot of moments where they were going forward and they were controlling the ball. But they looked completely out of their sorts because it looked like a system they had not played before.
Yeah. I mean, look, if it's halftime and you're winning, you're up 3-0 and you're comfortable with your lead and you're comfortable with it, then do your experiment. Do it. And then we'll see what happens. And maybe it's a complete failure. But it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, the element of surprise can work sometimes, but it also can fail miserably. And I think in this case, it just failed miserably. I just hope we don't have to see this kind of experiment again. But from the right side, I don't. Anyways, I'm over it. Great game. I think we saw a lot. We saw a lot of good things, a lot of positive things to carry over for next game. But yeah, definitely disappointing first half for I guess everybody that's been waiting for the first game of the season for so long.
Absolutely, and I think that you had all this time to make it work. When I wanna go back to the Rowdy that Rowdy's game that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm starting to think that was maybe how they played, because when you look at the lineup, that very well could be, and they look like they could have either been a 4-back or a 3-back with like an attacking wing back or something like that. Now I'm thinking about it, that was probably a game where they played like that, and the fact that they won 3-1 maybe kind of gave them the idea that said, okay, we're trying this against Atlanta. I don't know. I don't love it, but I think that you have to kind of.
I just think it was the wrong moment to do it.
He said it right, mea culpa. It didn't work. Will we see it again? Maybe. That's because he doesn't want to say fuck no because it was a disaster, right? A maybe is I'll be very surprised if for 70 minutes, if you need a goal and you want to shove forwards up there, then whatever, fine. But on the road especially, I don't think we're going to see that again.
No.
We do have a question about that specifically from Tate next Saturday. Andy, what's your starting 11?
Oh man, they better place Alvarez back on that lineup, and they better place Pierce and Clark. I mean, I'm saying it better, but that's my prediction, man. Because I mean, if they failed this bad, like the first half, then fix it, man. Like that's my solution. Fix it, and that's the fix. So I feel like predicting something, Elias, but I mean, at the end of the day, like they might surprise us from completely different angle. So, yeah. Why fix it?
No, look, I completely agree with you, right? You copy paste the lineup that ended the game.
Except Petrasa.
Except Petrasa, you put Alvarez. We got a lot of comments from CFMTL Gold saying start Yankov. I'm not gonna lie to you, brother. No. No.
Fit. He doesn't fit.
Look, I mean, Fabian Herbers reminds me a lot of the kind of player Dominik Yankov is, where they're very methodical. They enjoy playing in space and combining and stuff like that. But Dominik Yankov has not done anything since like 11 months ago. In 11 months has not done anything to say that I deserve to get a starting spot, especially in front of Kane Clark and especially in front of a Bryce Duke, who had, again, a very good game. So Minnesota's up next, if I'm not mistaken. Minnesota's up next. It's definitely a winnable game, especially with the way that they played today. Last night, sorry. That second half, Andy. When you look at the next few games that are all on the road, except for maybe Columbus, because again, it is Columbus. Does this change what you're expecting out of the next 6 games on the road?
Yes, I'm expecting them not to mess it up like they did this time against Atlanta. Like don't test anything, man. Like we're on the road, and CF Montreal's on the road, and we're I think you want to come back home with as many points as possible, and what seems to work is a certain lineup. Now, obviously, you want to experiment with stuff, and you also want to see what other things could work. But not to start the game, in my opinion, because the start of the game, regardless how mentally strong your team is, eventually, it's gonna affect the morale. Oh, here we go again, Elias. We're down 2-0 in the 35th minute. Oh, I can't wait for halftime for coach to make the right substitutions. Like at some point, it's gonna affect morale, and you're gonna say, "Wow, okay, well." We always seem to mess up on the first half, like it's cool. I think they really need to be a first half team where they come out shooting, and then the second half is just even better than the first,
Yeah, I think Patrick makes a good point here, right? He overthought this one. He does do that. Laurent Courtois does tend to overthink games. And when he explains himself at the end after the press conference, it makes sense, right? Like I understand why you played Caden Clark at left wing back. I understand your the ideas behind it. And they're founded in like he's not a crazy person going, we're gonna do this. He's not a mad scientist, right? He had very concrete reasons as to why every player was in their position. However, sometimes, especially the first game of the season, keep the shit simple, man. The first game of the season, you're on the road. Keep this shit simple.
If it
you
works,
don't have to
fix it.
shove every tactic up its own ass to make it work. You developed a good system that ended the season as one of the best teams in MLS. And if they had replicated that 7-game run, if you map that out over a whole season, they finished second in the East. Right? So you very clearly developed a system that works. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. At least not immediately. Let them play the game that they just played and just succeeded with. Or else you get that first half.
Yeah. He talked about it a lot last season also, Elias. He said, chemistry is very important. The dynamic between players is very important to me. But yesterday he messed with that. And that's what bothered me. Like he messed with the dynamic that was working. So you're kind of going against your own message. So.
And Patrick, again, was a good point. You have to make teams adapt to you, play your game, and change up your game. That second half, I haven't seen them handle an away game. I'm talking about handle an away game and an away team this well in like years. Especially a team as good as Atlanta, right? And again, you talk about Wilfried Nancy and that team, how they were the best MLS team, the best road MLS team since they got rid of shootouts. They walked into different teams' grounds and they played their game. And Patrick is right. Patrick, you're right. Every team that has success on the road in MLS is because they play their games. And yeah, maybe they don't play as liberally as they do at home, but they play their style, and then they just account for the fact that they don't have as much freedom because they're not at home. But they play their game. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you play on the road and change the entire formation, because then your players are going to look as lost as they were in the first half instead of looking as dominant. Look at the stats, right? They were as dominant as they were in the second half.
Yeah. I'm like, why? Why couldn't we see two halves of Laurent Courtois ball? But anyways.
I mean, I guess the good thing that a 3-2 loss is disappointment instead of, hey, at least they scored 2 goals.
And we'd be having a whole different conversation if last night was a 5-0, 4-0 loss.
No, but I mean, like the fact that they see if they had played the first half and the second half as well, if it was that same disparity and Montreal managed to make it a 3-2 game, you go like, you know what? They played shit, but it was a 3-2 game. But they were still shit. This game here, a 3-2 is actually a disappointing result. Right? Because this was not only a drawable game, this was a winnable game. So I think you have to take into account the fact that they were the better team. Debatable. Deserve the point? Absolutely.
Yeah. I just kind of think they let loose. They got let loose in defense a little bit when they scored. There was that tie because there were twice that they were tied.
They were the ones looking for the win and not Atlanta.
Yeah,
they were the ones driving.
They kind of let loose. They really went up high, and I was like, "What are you guys doing? Let's just take away the point. I mean, just go. Everybody play defense. Everybody."
If they had known that Mosquera was going to pull that out of his back pocket like that, then maybe they'd have been more conservative. But you can never anticipate a worldie.
Yeah. Great game.
All right. Bring on Minnesota.
Let's go, Minnesota.
God, we're so back. MLS is back, and I love it. Anyway, everybody, that's going to be it for our little bite-sized episode of The Ball is Round. Remember, our podcast will always be free. You can find us here every Sunday at 7:30. If you do want to help out, contribute to the podcast, help us improve our product, and also take advantage of some pretty cool written content that's exclusive to our Patreons, feel free to join. We're going to have some free articles here and there. We're going to have some paid articles here and there. Again, contribute what you can. We appreciate every single penny, and we love you all. Just one little bit of housekeeping before we go. You may have noticed Hadi has not been around for the last couple of weeks. He's doing fine. He's got some family matters to attend to. He will be back. We promise you. And we will let you know when he's back. Until then, you're stuck with us. Sorry. We are going to get some cool guests, though, over the course of the season. That's for sure. And yeah, we will see you next week for episode 216. Wow. All the balls right.